Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. I'm going to get started in a few minutes. I'm actually on my laptop right now and not on my phone, which is where I normally am. And so I'm trying to see. I don't know. I can't see who's on. Normally, um, on my phone, it'll tell me like who's viewing, who's in there. Can somebody do me a favor and type a quick question or just a test or something in the box? Hi, anything just to see if it's gonna pop up on my laptop. If not, I'm gonna have to switch and go to my cell phone. Can somebody type, or maybe they did. Hold on, let me check my cell phone. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Okay, let me get off of this. Okay, perfect. So I see Kim, I see Miss Mans. Hi, Chanel. I'm good. Thank you for asking. Okay, so normally when I do lives, when people come in, I like to say hello, but on the laptop, it's not telling me so and so is watching, so and so is watching. So the only way I will know that you are here and present is if you put something in the chat. So no need to do that. I just want you to know why I'm not acknowledging everybody that's coming in. But I really do appreciate those of you all who have joined. If you want to take a moment to check in, feel free to do that. I'm just going to give us a couple more minutes for people to join before I get started. Hi, Jonathan. I did not know you were Bird's son. I would have had my foot 10 times down your neck had I known that. You got away good. Yeah, just give it a couple minutes. I appreciate you guys for hopping on, students, parents, everybody's welcome. If you have thoughts, questions, so the whole point of this live is for me to talk about remote learning through the lens of equity, particularly for students and parents in the Black community. And so if you have any thoughts, questions, like I really just want to be real, raw, give people the space to say how they are feeling without any judgment, ask any questions like, hey, I'm thinking about this, but I'm not sure, or this is a situation that's happening at my school or my kid's school, and I need some advice. How do you think I should handle this? I don't have all the answers. I'm not an expert, but I will say that the more that I continue to do research around the history of the educational system and the institution in which it was founded on, I have become very passionate and dedicated to being a youth advocate and a parent advocate. And so, so I'm just gonna kind of give my introduction now and get started. So, hi T, thanks for joining. Are we going back to school soon? No, you are not, and I could talk about that too. So my background for the last 13 or so years, I've been a teacher, a dean, an AP, a principal, and now I serve in the role of an educational consultant. I started my own firm in December of 2018. And so in addition to that professional experience, I also want to make sure that I call out specifically that I was a in Chicago Public School District, which means I have also the experience of being a child to a parent and what it looked like, felt like to my mother as she was, walking me through the system. And then I also have the experience as a student myself in the system, right? I also do a lot of work with youth. I'm a life coach, so I talk to a lot of parents about a lot of things. So I want to be clear in saying I am not a biological parent. However, I'm sure that there are at least a handful of youth out there that will say that I am a life assigned parent to them, and that they reach out to me for guidance, support, because they trust me and know my heart. So I want to say that because I know a lot of people like to lead with, well, are you a parent? You don't get to say X, Y, Z if you're not a parent. To be clear, there are a lot of people who are parents and are not raising their children. So just because you are a parent doesn't mean that you're actually raising students or children. And I also think it's not fair for you to say, because I have not biologically birthed a child, that I don't know how to raise one. So now that that is out of the way, I just want to say that if we're talking about the lens of equity, to be clear, there are two different terms that get used interchangeably, but they do not mean the same thing. So if you talk about equality, equality means everybody gets the same thing. So I have a student over here, a student here, no matter the race, no matter social economic status, no matter parent involvement, none of that matters. If I give this child $5, I'm also going to give this child $5, even if this child don't need it. But because I gave it to this child, I'm going to assume that this child also needs it. And so equal means everybody gets the same thing regardless of their needs. That's equality. My lens is around equity. And equity, the way that I like to sum it up, and what I always have told my students from the beginning, fair is not always equal. So when I was a math teacher, students would come to me and say, Ms. Carew, can you help me figure out the next step to problem number 5? And I would tell them no. I would say, figure it out. I'm going to circle right back around to you to make sure you got it. And then I would go to another student's desk and they will ask me for help with problem number 5, and I will actually give them the help. Well, you don't know if that student has a learning disability. You don't know what I know in terms of the needs of that student. So equity is about giving people what they need, and it's not always equal. It's not this idea that in order to be fair, if I help you with number 5, I need to help you with number 5. No, I don't, because this student needs that push, whereas you, for whatever reason, I know can do whatever it is that I'm asking you to do. Okay, so I want to just be clear in saying that my fight is for equity and not equality, which is why I had so many issues with the strike that was going on in Chicago, because so many educators were fighting for all schools to get the same resources when we know all schools don't need the same resources, right? So that's that. On the plugger for this Facebook Live, and definitely feel free to throw stuff in the chat. On the plugger for the Facebook Live, I put a quote up there that said, we are definitely weathering the same storm, but we are not all in the same boat. And that speaks more to my point and position around equity. No two people are handling this pandemic the same way. I could be a grade level teacher on the same team as somebody else, and they're not handling how to teach remotely the same way because of their concerns, their issues, their challenges. They may not be the same. Same thing with students. Students are not responding to this pandemic all the same. Parents are not responding all the same. Why? Because everybody has their own unique circumstances and situations. Give you a little bit of context. There are districts across this country, let me be clear, because we're talking about equity, particularly in Black communities. And if you want to be honest, Black communities in poverty-stricken areas, right? There are districts across this country that as soon as they heard about COVID-19, they immediately sent Chromebooks to every student that attended their school. They didn't have to do an assessment to ask, do you already have tech in the house? Can you use your cell phone? How many students are in the home? Can you guys share? It was no questions asked about what the home life situation was. And I can tell you specifically, West Bloomfield in Michigan, because I do work with Detroit public school principals. West Bloomfield was a district that did just that. They sent every single student, regardless of what their home situation was, a laptop. So I get very irritated and frustrated when I hear people saying, well, why should we give them a laptop when they have one at home, or when they have a cell phone? Why are we, giving them, why are Black parents saying that they need tech when they already have tech at home? That is just further widening the opportunity gap. The opportunity here in this particular circumstance is to make sure everybody has what they need. We don't have time to be trying to figure out who got what. The point of public schools is to make sure that every student has what they need, right? That's the first thing. The second thing we need to talk about is the fact that students have not historically, in the schools that I work in, which have been working class schools, let me be honest, have not traditionally been able to have their cell phones out and present in the learning environment. Well, you go from saying to students, hey, you will be, in some cases, given detention. Your mama got to come up here and get it, all these different things if you pull out your cell phone. But now, because you want me to do this work that you sent home, it's okay for my kid to use the cell phone for their learning. That the first issue is that we have to then think about the rules that are in place at schools and re-question them. Like, what's the purpose of it? Is it more about power? Or is it more about purpose? What's your real purpose for telling kids that they can't be on their cell phone in the learning environment, right? So I just want to be clear that there are districts across this country that are making sure that 100% of their kids, I will also say West Bloomfield has a median household income of $80,000. So that's why I talk about poverty in terms of equity, right? And if you're asking me, if a district has a median household income of $80,000, I would probably be more apt to assume that many of their students already had tech in the house. Now you go to Inglewood, where the average median income is $32,000, but yet and still the district doesn't have money to send every student a laptop. So if you were to ask me who is actually in need, this is going back to fair, it's not always equal. We really needed to do a better assessment of who needed what and how to respond. Now, I will say there are some things that, maybe the district didn't have it in the budget. I don't know why it didn't happen. All I know is that it didn't happen and it's not equitable, okay? So that's all I'll say about that. And then my thoughts before I go into the comments to see what questions you have is just that in this time, I want everybody to be very compassionate with themselves. If you are a parent and you are on this live, I need you to know and understand, and this is an educator speaking to you, I want nothing more for your baby than for them to be successful. At the end of the day, though, your definition of success might not be the definition of my success. And if the definition of success for your babies right now is to make sure that they are coping well because they are missing their friends and their teachers and their regular way of living, that is okay. If learning is not a priority for your child right now, that does not make you a bad parent. There are other issues, again, not in the same boat. People talking about use your stimulus for that, do this, that. Like, first of all, don't tell me how to spend my money. You don't know what my money needs to go to. And this narrative around Black people not knowing how to use their money on the right stuff, you don't get to tell people what's appropriate for them. People are having arguments about, well, I saw parents in Walmart buying big screen TVs. I bet they kids ain't got no laptop. Part A, if I didn't have a laptop and a TV, I'm probably choosing the TV too, because if I have to be in quarantine for 3 months straight, there's a lot of things that I need to be able to do, see, hear on the TV that I can't necessarily do on a cell phone, especially if I don't have internet access. So there, again, it speaks to equity and it speaks to privilege when people feel like they have the power and the knowledge to be able to tell people how to make decisions that are best for their own children. So parents, be empowered in knowing that you know what's best for your kids. And teachers love your kids too, but they don't have the full picture. Do what's best for them, okay? The other thing I want you guys to know and understand, if you are a parent on this live, I know there's going to be some comments or some, I guess when you go back to school, there has been talk about, it hasn't been confirmed yet, that parents will get to determine if they want their child to stay in the same grade or transition to the next grade when school starts. Listen to me. Students and parents, listen to me. Do not take the option to stay in the same grade. Don't. Move forward. You want to know why? Because Julian Bond, who has done lots of work, civil rights movement leader, all of that, he said one of the most powerful quotes that has stuck with me for a long time. And that quote is, violence is Black children going to receiving 6 years of education. This idea that our kids, Black kids, particularly those living in poverty, this idea that they go to school every day and is learning all of this stuff and stretching their brain, all of that stuff sounds good. But when you have so many teachers inside of the system that doesn't fully believe in the capacity and capability of our young Black brilliant minds, they are not being pushed in the way that they need to. And I can speak on my own behalf, seeing people as teachers, people when I was a principal, seeing a lot of people who will say, I love kids, I want them to be great. I believe all children can learn. Yeah, but when you walk into their classroom, there's a lot of things happening that suggest otherwise. So I want to be clear in saying I'm not here to bash teachers. There are a lot of dope teachers out there, and all of them that I've come in contact with means well. They don't say outright, oh, well, I don't think kids can learn. Nobody would ever say that. But I think because there are some unexamined biases, probably implicitly, that they don't know about, it comes across in their practice. And so Black kids don't get everything that they need to get while they're in the classroom. So my recommendation to you is, if you have a choice of whether to keep your child behind, like in this current grade level that they ended this school year with, or move them forward, move them forward. There is a lot more psychological research around students needing to continue to progress, and they're just not going to miss as much instruction as you think. Along that same lines, be careful, because when you say, hey, I want my baby to go to the next grade level, there are going to be some teachers who will then take the whole year to say, okay, I got to go back and teach them everything from last year because last year was basically a wash. No, ma'am. No, sir. I need my baby to have access to this current grade level content, and I need you, as the certified educator that you are, the professional you are, I need you to fill in the gaps. Let's be clear. Just because they are going from 6th grade to 7th grade doesn't mean that they're going to be getting 7th grade material. So I need parents to make sure that they are looking at the work, asking questions. You may not know what 7th grade material work looks like. Ask questions. And the truth is, some of the teachers are so bold, they'll send something home at the top of a 7th grader that say kindergarten at the top of the worksheet that they didn't print it out from Google. So try to be observant. Try to make sure you're asking questions like, hey, what are they learning? How is this different from what they would have gotten last year? Just be able to ask questions, because we don't want this to be used as an opportunity, because teachers mean well, though. I'm not saying that they're bad. They mean well, and they're going to say, well, we need to go back and address everything that, they missed from last year. You do need to address that, but you can fill in the holes as opposed to making that the content that you're going to teach for the entire year. If your baby is going from 6th to 7th, they need to be taught 7th grade content. And in order for them to reach that 7th grade content, the teacher needs to pull small groups, do some scaffolding in the lesson, all sorts of things to make sure that kids can access the 7th grade material. The show doesn't stop. Keep it moving, and they can address gaps without holding them back. So that's my push to you guys. Also, parents, if you're on, last thing, and I see your question, Melina. The last thing, use this as an opportunity to observe your child and write stuff down. Notice what their strengths are. Notice when they struggle the most. Notice their demeanor when they're doing certain subjects or certain activities. See when they're most successful. Because what I've heard, and I just got on a Zoom on Friday with my advisory boys, they're in 6th grade, and they said, well, Miss Carew, I'm trying to figure out why, if I could do this lesson now in 8 minutes, why we need to be in class for a whole 90. That's what the kids say. I didn't make that up. So I think after this pandemic is over, we're going to have to do some very real reworking of the traditional school system itself, but day-to-day practices. Because there's no way that a child who's used to all this time having the flexibility, and that's another thing they say, I get to go to the bathroom when I want. I can do some work, play my game a little bit, do some more work. They said I can have more than 15 minutes for lunch. Sorry. These are the things that the kids are saying. So I can just tell you right now, parents, if and when kids go back, if things are the same, you are going to get way more phone calls from teachers and administrators because they're going to be turned up. You can't, and I'm excited about it. I am excited about it because that means kids are going to start advocating for themselves. They are going to start asking questions that's going to make people mad, but that's exactly what we need. They're going to ask, why are you sitting up here talking to me for 45 minutes? You didn't have to do that when I was at home. And I still was learning. So all of that stuff is going to play a part. All I'm asking you is just get to know your child. Even if you don't know how to do the math, I know it's new, all of that stuff. You don't have to know how. Just observe them. See what they're excited about. Learn what their strengths are. Another parent said to me, how is it that my baby got straight A's, but when I'm sitting down and doing their work, they don't understand nothing. Like they barely can read the directions. That's a good question. And that's something you want to make sure that you're taking to the school to say like, hey, I need to understand, because as a parent, I go to work every day. I trust you to make sure that my kid is doing well. And I'm getting a report card that says straight A's, which leads me to believe that they're excelling. And now I find that that's just not the case. So now I'm wondering about the integrity of your grading process and what that looks like. So I just wanted to share those things with you guys. Don't worry about teaching them every day now. I promise you. And I'm not trying to go against whatever your school is saying. They will give quarter four grades, or not quarter four grades, quarter four principles. Essentially, if you're at a charter school, the district has given some guidance around it. But basically, most of them are going in the direction of pass or incomplete. No student should be failing. The same thing is true for the end of quarter three. I think we got out of school, it was probably like 2 weeks left of quarter three. If a school decided to give quarter three grades, nobody should have an F. And here's the rationale. If my child was still in school for those 2 weeks, they could have done makeup work, they could have gotten extra credit, they could have done a number of things to boost them from an F to a D at least. So if your child has a report card that has an F for quarter four, I don't care what the grade was before, for quarter three, I don't care what it was before you all left for school, because they didn't have the opportunity in those last 2 weeks, we should not be penalizing them. We just shouldn't. Same thing for quarter four. If students do the work, they're going to get a pass. If students do not do the work, for a number of reasons, they need help, you don't have stable internet, you couldn't access tech, whatever it is, they'll get an incomplete, which means in the fall, they will have an opportunity, or summer, if they say we can go back in the summer, will have an opportunity to do the work when they are at school and in a position to do it. So don't feel pressure as a parent if you can't make sure that they're doing everything all the time. If by chance they get an incomplete, they will have an opportunity to make that up, okay? So those are the things. Let me go to the questions and see what we got here. Yes, I know your mother, Jonathan. I said that. Are we going back to school soon? So we already know that the governor said we're not going back for this school year. I am no scientist. I am no politician. I am no CDC representative. But if you were to ask me, I wouldn't be surprised if we waited to go back until January 2021. That's just me. I don't know. I ain't read no article that said that. That's just my hunch, because it's too much of a risk. That's just my perspective. Erica said, looking forward to the conversation. For sure, remote learning is a worker for most of us, but definitely likely more difficult for some. Look forward to uncovering that reality and figuring out what to do about it. Yes. And so myself and a group of other educators, teachers, students, we meet every Wednesday at 6 p.m. inside of my group, the Education Collaborative. So if you're interested, I'll post that link in here. But we just get on a call every Wednesday and talk about how to reimagine school and what this could and should look like for our babies. Because to be clear, it was never intended, the system, when I say it, the system was never intended for our babies to thrive. Like, it's all about survival, which is why I want to be clear in saying this too. We are told that education is the great equalizer, when in fact it is not. We keep trying to play this game. I've heard people who have best intentions. Well, the white kids, they can afford to take some months off of school. Black kids can't afford that. Black kids absolutely can't afford it, because I'm going to tell you what I know about black kids. They're going to figure it out. They're going to figure it out. And if you ask me, why are we in a race with them? Who are they? Like, we keep trying to play catch up with them. We set the pace. But because we've been told that we're not good enough and that we are inferior to them, we keep feeding this notion that, like, we got to work twice as hard. And people been working twice as hard all of our lives. And guess what? They still don't have the American dream. So this whole notion that we have to play catch up or we can't afford, we don't figure it out. Okay, so Erica, got you on that. I'm gonna read that when after this is over. Let's see what else we got. Baby Cam. Oh, hey Cam from Foundations. I miss you more. Okay, so Melina asks, are they passing the kids? I don't know. All of my consulting work is with charter schools, so I can only speak on behalf of what I know based on the administrators that I've been talking to. But everybody that I've been talking to have been saying that it's not fair to hold kids back. And I agree. If we're talking about equity, it's not fair to hold them back. What I did hear, though, is that some people, there may be an option for parents to decide. And that's why I was being very clear and saying if they give you that, and I know parents are always like, no, don't be passing him along if he don't know or if she can't. I want her to stay so she can get what she needs. But the issue is that system, the way it currently is designed, your baby likely is not getting what they need anyway. So you telling them to stay in grade is just going to be them getting exposure to more hot garbage. So I don't know if they're going to pass them, but if you as a parent, Melina, is given the option to determine, my vote is that you let them move forward and put it on the teachers, the professionals to figure out how to fill the gap. Okay. Sierra. Oh, I miss you too. That's Genesis, one of my babies. Hey, Sean Sorsby. Martha said in higher ed, our students have the option to pass fail. How about K-12? So Martha, students don't, and see, here's the problem that I have with all of it too. I was on a panel yesterday and we were asking how are the students, how do they feel? And I'm like, they don't have no students on the panel. How we know? Like, we can't speak for how they feel. And part of the problem with why education doesn't work as it currently is structured is because nobody is asking kids anything. Everything is being done to them. So, you know, with this whole idea that kids don't know what's best for them, like they do. They know. They have experience. They can tell you what they feel like they want. Now it's up to the parents to be able to say like, hey, let's consider this, have that conversation, but they know. So pass, fail is not fail is not an option in any setting. Parents were not accepting any Fs. It's either pass or incomplete. Okay. And the incomplete means that they will change and get the pass or the grade after they do all the work. Did I talk about summer at all? Parents are asking about summer camps already. Yeah, and so I also listened to JB today on his press conference. People were pushing him on that and just like, hey, what's going to happen? I don't think he made the official call, but I would just say this, and again, please understand, I need to put a pin thing at the top. I'm no expert. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I'm an educator who advocates for kids and for parents. That's who I am, okay? Even if they open up, because there's rumblings about the world opening back up, outside to be open May 1st. Based on what the scientists are saying, that's premature. So even if they give you as a parent an option to give your kids access to some summer programming, I think you have to really think about, is that the right move, whether they say it is or not. Let's go back to the fact that parents know what's best for their kids, and sometimes leadership, whether it's educational leadership, political leaders, whatever, we make decisions based on what's in the best of our interests. And that sometimes that's in alignment with what's best for you, and sometimes it's not. So my personal professional recommendation is that nobody's kids are involved in no whole group sum of nothing until they can figure this out. So they haven't said much about it. I also know that there's a reality because, like I said, we're all weathering the same storm. We're not in the same boat. Everybody don't have the luxury of not sending their kids to school if it opens back up, say, tomorrow, because they're losing out on wages. You know, they can't have a babysitter, so they can't go to work because their kids are in the house. I understand all of those things exist, and that's why the society, in the way that it is currently set up and structured, is not meant for us. Because you shouldn't have to make an option between the safety of, or make a choice between the safety one to make money to be able to feed the child. Like, what sense does that make? So they haven't talked about it. I don't necessarily think that people should be gathering that soon. But again, I understand it's a harsh and sad reality that some parents students to open back up for summer camps will have to stand there because they have to go and make the money. So Kim asked, how do you think I should approach a staff member that isn't supporting us well during this time? Students have a lot of unanswered questions. So that's a good question, Kim. This is what I would say to you. It's really tough because teachers are getting paid, no doubt. I also think that teachers, any bit of money that they are making right now, they deserved it well before today, because they work really hard most of the time. Most of them are underpaid. So it's hard because they are still human, right? They have children at home who need extra support and love and care. They have internet issues, just like some of the students. Just because I'm a teacher, I will tell you, I know some teachers living check to check. And I know some teachers who stay late at work to use the internet because they don't have it at home. Now, I can imagine that a lot of them are pulling strings, trying to make sure that they get the internet and laptop and all that stuff that they need to be able to support you guys. At the same time, I'm just asking that you have compassion for teachers, because they're dealing with a lot too, especially the ones that are not tech savvy. So to your point, like, they're not supporting us in a way, like some of the teachers legit, like, how do you get in the Zoom? Okay, open up your email. Click the link. It's going to take you there, right? And it seems so easy for us because we are a generation of techies. Like, I have the privilege of kind of knowing what a house phone is and a cell phone, right? You, Kim, and your generation, y'all all techies. So y'all know it comes natural. On my call with my boys on Friday, he was sharing screens. He had a game up, making both of us play and all that. And I'm just like, I don't even know how to do this. So I'm not still saying, though, Kim, that you shouldn't push that teacher. I think you should ask questions and be compassionate and say, like, hey, I feel like, I really could benefit from some additional support. Is there, a preferred method of communication for you, right? So I know you're at a charter school. So some of the charter schools that I work for, they had all the teachers set up Google Voice numbers, because I know with this whole CPS thingy, you're not supposed to have your personal cell phone number given to kids. But, ask what's their preferred method of communication. And here's the other thing, too, which is why we got to be sensitive. Being on these Zoom calls and these live teaching sessions and all of that requires letting people into your personal space when you otherwise may not want to do. So thankfully, I'm blessed to live in a house that I feel proud of. My walls are clean. I didn't have to do no deep cleaning before I could jump on Zoom. But if I'm a teacher who worked 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day, do whatever, and my house is not the way I want it to be, or I needed a paint job but haven't had the time to do it, now you're asking me to open up my space in a way that makes me vulnerable, and I'm not comfortable with that. Same thing with students, mandating that they get on Google Chrome or do whatever, a Google Classroom. All of that is cool, except how you know that they want you to see their house. And it could not be messed up. I have a picture of Marcel on the back of my wall here. That's personal to me. Like, he was my student that was killed. That's personal to me. But I have to then open this up to you guys if I'm going to engage with the community, because virtual is the only way we can go right now. So I just want you to be compassionate. I still want you to ask questions and push. Make sure you advocate for you and what you need. Hey, what's your method of communication? Is there a specific time of day that works better for you, right? They're being lunch ladies. They're trying to be the tech person. They're trying to do all of that. And if they have kids, they're trying to figure out they tech plus their kids tech. If you got multiple kids, the parent that I was on a panel with yesterday, she has 4 kids. She said total of there are 18 teachers. 18 teachers between her 4 kids. So she I have to teach them very quickly. And so it's a lot of communication, because it's you may not just be getting an email from one person. You're getting an email from all of the teachers. And then it's a lot for everybody. It's a lot for everybody. So I'm just saying, have compassion, push for what you need, advocate on your own behalf. But when you do it with love is what I want you to do, Kim. Good question. Let's see what else we got. Miss Shalise. Okay. I speak with my students every Friday via our conversations is 50-50 with them as far as the pass-fail method. My seniors are really hurt about the entire situation. My main with them now is self-care. So here's the thing. Self-care is it right now. Not just for students, but for parents too. Many of us have not, and you can say whatever you want to say. I'm a religious, spiritual type of person, but I always operate from the mindset that God knows what we need, even when we don't, take heed to it. Because it has forced all of us to stop and pause and take care of ourselves. Even me, I've been able to take care of myself in a way that I haven't been ever in my whole life. I started working when I was 14. It's been nonstop ever since. Like, this has been the first time that I've actually been able to sit with myself and care for myself. And I don't even have children. So I can only imagine what that means for parents. So parents, if you're on this live, take care of yourself too. And that's what I mean by like, do what's best for you, because taking care of yourself could mean we're not logging into Google Classroom today. I don't have it in me. I just don't. And rather than them, that's what the other parent said yesterday. She like, I've been more frustrated with my kids than ever before. They asking me all these questions. And I want to know, did you read the directions? Why you weren't listening and paying attention in school? And all they're getting frustrated with the kids because they are overwhelmed. If you need to say today we're not doing it, we just not doing it. Take care of yourself. Don't put yourself unnecessary stress. And then for the work that they're sending home, talk to a person who, she's actually white and her son is, in a private school, but she even said to me that, it's hard for him to sit down and do the work. She feel like she gotta, walk him through it. But, he snuck in the toy chest and got the Legos out and was building a Lego house. Well, yeah, because that's more interesting and more engaging. So tell me why the teachers didn't then prepare a lesson where they could use items in the house to measure area and perimeter. Like, why we keep giving them packets and stuff that they don't want to see? That's why kids misbehave in school, because you're putting stuff in front of them that they don't feel like is relevant and that they're not interested in. So I said all that to say that self-care is important for you, for your children, whatever that looks like for you. Don't nobody get to tell you that. And don't let nobody make you feel guilty or bad about it either. These parents don't care about their kids learning. Since when? I've never met a parent who said that they didn't care about their kids learning. I've never seen that before. Addicted to substances, going through abusive stuff at home. Never heard a parent verbalize that they don't care about their kids learning. So don't let other people make you believe you're a bad parent because it's best for them. You know what's best. Okay. Thank you, Josh. This is awesome. Teaching online is different person. Absolutely. You don't get the same connections, which is why I will say I do think it's, I appreciate teachers going the extra mile to do the Google Classrooms and the Zooms, because a lot of our kids are legit excited to see their teachers and their, classmates. Like, imagine them being at home with their parent all day, every day, and nobody else to talk to, nobody to laugh with, joke, none of that. Like, it is a form of, it's an outlet for them. And so where possible, where you do have the financial means to, have a laptop or internet or whatever, I think it's important that you encourage them to make those connections, because the social aspect is what they're missing too, right? It's not just all academics. It's about their social and emotional learning as well. Hi, Carvis. No problem, Sean. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you too. I love you more, Kim. So Jennifer says, it's a different world and we are all impacted. Sometimes the Zoom and other forms of video chatting can become a little overwhelming. A little or a lot? It's a lot. I think it's just time to embrace the change as best as we can and adjust. This may not be perfected overnight. We just have to take it one day at a time and create new routines around our new normal. Yes, and I don't know that we just have to adjust. And I mean that with love, because I think that's just our nature. Roll with the punches, whatever they may be. Like, to me, this is the prime opportunity to resist on all levels. No, I'm not about to just pick up my whole life and adjust it in 24 hours or in a week. I'm just not going to do that. It's too much. It creates trauma. It creates anxiety, it creates fear. Like there's a lot that we are dealing with. And I think we need to pause and acknowledge that before just like rolling with it. Right. And I think that takes a lot of work, because we've been taught like you got to work hard. You can't slack. You got to be, resilient, push through, all of those things that we've been taught. And they are good tools to have in your toolkit. My question to you all would be, is now the time to utilize them? If it's what's best for you and yours, utilize them. If it's not what's best for you and yours in terms of keeping your sanity, being able to still legs the way you need to go to work or do whatever it is you have to do, if just readjusting quickly is not in the cards for you, then don't. It's really a form of self-care and a form of self-love, is to resist where you need to say, not today, not with this, not right now. I didn't do anything, like literally, and I was sick for a long time during this stay-at-home order, but I literally just on this past Saturday have been basically the most productive I've ever been. And I am a hard worker. Like, I gets down. So the fact that I was crippled by a number of things, anxiety, deaths, uncertainty, fear, grief, all of those things. And this is the thing, this is a triggering moment for a lot of people. Even if people are dying of COVID, that brings on fear. I don't know if my parents are gonna die, or my sisters, or my favorite cousin. Like, it's just crazy, right? It triggers that, right? But then it also triggers, okay, well, so-and-so grandma just died from COVID. I know my granny didn't die from COVID, but now I'm thinking about my grandmother who died. Grief comes in a lot of different ways, and emotions can be triggered based on a number of things. And I think it's that we recognize that if we are having a hard time as adults, kids are having probably an even harder time. So just be patient with yourself, adjust if you need to. I agree, if you got it, go ahead. But I also know that if you don't have it in you, that don't make you a bad person. It makes you a human person. Do what you need to do. Take it one day at a time. Thank you. Exactly. Just drop the mic for you. Boom. Thank you, Miss Shalise. Seeing them on Friday is my motivation, superpower. Yeah, and some teachers need that too, right? They're super excited to log in. I had a Zoom call with my advisory boys on Friday. We didn't talk about work. How are you doing? How are you when you first heard that, you weren't going to be in school for the rest of the year? How did that make you feel? What are some things you're learning about yourself right now? What are some things you need? What are, how do you expect, or how do you envision school to be when you get back? All of the and learning can happen in so many ways, right? And that's the other thing about parents. If you're not logging on a Google Classroom every day, get them kids in the kitchen with you while you're cooking. How to measure stuff out. They can look at the timer on the thing, do some elapsed time. Well, if we got to keep it in 15 minutes, how long does that need to be? There's so many other ways. Somebody said the other day on the panel, well, I taught my kid how to play spades. Does that count? Absolutely. That is a skill that they need post for secondary ed. So post-secondary ed, when I go to college, as a Black person, I need your kid to know how to play spades. That's learning. That's strategy. That's counting. Oh, it's no cards in the suit. You need to know. All of that is learning. Cooking, cards, having poems. Imagine how the kids are. If your kid is into arts and all of that, have them write a poem or a rap or something. I want to know how you feel. But instead of you telling me, get creative, I want you to write me a poem. Or I want you to draw a picture today telling me how you feel. Or, just whatever. Like, get creative with learning. Don't feel like you have to be put in this box of what your child's teacher or administrator is telling you what learning is. Like, get back to the basics. Teach them about credit. Show them what it looks like to have a bank account. I've even seen some parents with using the Monopoly money to say, hey, look, I've been buying a whole bunch of snacks and y'all eating them up. So guess what? The pantry is now, or here's everybody earnings for the week based on the chores that you did. When you get ready for a snack, you can purchase one. When you don't have no money, guess what? You don't know how to count out your money, guess what? You don't get no snack. All of that is learning. So step outside of the box in terms of what people make you believe learning is, and do what you know to be best for your kids. Okay. let me see who we got. Lavelle, he says, you're so motivational, not just to the children, but the parents and the leaders in the schools and classrooms. What do you recommend to parents that students have IEPs that need one-on-one help, and parents can't offer the help? So yeah, so here's the thing. Parents, you are not certified teachers. That's not your job. You didn't choose that. It's okay if you don't know how to help your baby. You're not a teacher. You are a parent who works in another profession, and you are trying to support your child the best that you know how. You're not a teacher. So don't try to be. It's okay, right? In terms of students with IEPs, I know for a fact that supporting the case managers are still having virtual IEP meetings, whether it's through Zoom, on the phone, or whatever. In terms of minutes being met, though, the case managers are working with students to have paraprofessionals to work with them. Now, there are so like the classes, so say for instance, if the student has an IEP and they go to self-contained math, that self-contained math teacher still has the office hours for the day or the week, whatever the structure is. They're still doing lessons virtually for those kids. But if there's any additional needs beyond that, I would recommend that the parent contact the case manager of the school, because either the case manager can call and provide that support. They can have the special ed teachers call and provide that extra support. But to my knowledge, those SPED teachers are still having their office hours and teaching in the same ways that they. If you are a parent and to me, it's gonna be okay. Do the best you can. Do the best that they can. Move forward. Do not stress them. Confirming for you guys that you are not teaching. Okay, unless you are a teacher. But if you're not a teacher, I would much rather you do what you know you can and send them babies back and let the teachers work on it, as opposed to you trying to figure something out, or you're afraid to say, hey, I don't know how to do this, so let me just do anything. And then kids learn how to do something and then when it's the wrong thing. So I just caution you guys from feeling everything. And I'm the first to say, I tell people this, I didn't learn my multiplication facts until I was 21. I had graduated from undergrad, went away to teach in Las Vegas for Teach for America. I was a third grade. And when them babies stood up and asked me what 9 times 7 was, and I was standing in front of a room full of third graders, and I didn't know the answer, this is in my experience as a CPS student, graduated high school with a 3.9 GPA. It wasn't that I couldn't, but didn't no teacher ever say, put that calculator down. Figure it out. Use your hands, fingers, toes, whatever. I would tell my kids that when I was teaching in 9th grade math, 11th grade math, no, y'all gonna know these multiplication facts, because the last thing I want is for you to get home and can't even, count stuff for your kids or for you. So I'm telling you as an educator that was a gap in my learning until I was 21. Be able to say, kid, I don't know. We could Google on Khan Academy, we could find YouTube videos or do whatever, but I don't know. If we don't know, we don't know, like leave it blank in the packet or whatever. When you go back to school, you can ask that question. Do what you can, Tarcell, and like, that's it. Reach out if the parent is concerned about IEP support, okay? Jonathan said, now that the learning virtual, the teachers become more late, how do we get them to get more serious? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you were in here when I talked about this a bit earlier, Jonathan, but have compassion for the teachers, right? I think it's easy to say lazy, but I can't in good conscience let you say that about them, because I check them so hard when they say that about you. They're saying the same thing about students. Well, they not logging on to Google Classroom. They don't want to learn, or they lazy. They wasn't doing the work before school got out. Well, they ain't doing it now, and all this, all that. And I have to check them right then and there and tell them that's your bias talking. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what's happening. Well, they got cell phones, and you don't know if the internet is on there. You don't know anything. So stop making assumptions about why they're not doing what you want them to do. Ask questions and support. So in your case, advocate for what you need. Email those teachers, ask them, what is your preferred method of communication? Is it text? Is it email? Can we hop on Zoom? What days and times but most schools, I feel like at this point, should have set schedules for, like, on Monday at this time, you can reach your, whatever teacher, math Tuesdays at this time, you can meet your ELA teachers. But if all that stuff is not set up, just approach it with compassion and say, hey, I like to start every email now. Hey, I hope you're well. I hope you're safe and that you're well. I really need some extra support. Can we talk about what works? How can we make this happen? What works is what she says she has a lot of anxiety now because her sister is a nurse. Yeah. So she's thinking about her sister being safe. She's thinking about school. She's thinking about, missing her friends, and like, it's all kind of stuff that's happening. And here's the other thing, parents too. Social media is still alive and well. And a lot of stuff is popping off between kids even during this time. So there are some kids who are getting into it with other kids on social media. Could be their best friend, could be they found out they little boo cheating on them, or whatever that is. Same high school stuff that we all went through. Don't stop because the pandemic is here. So I just want you guys to be with them. Ask them every day, how are you? What's going on? What do you need from me? How can I support you? Because they're dealing with a lot. Let's see. How do you feel about 1 hour virtual instruction once a day? Plenty of work is assigned, but they only have 1 hour with their teacher. Is that per teacher or is that total? I do know ISB put out a document that gave restrictions around how much time. So teachers should not be teaching the same amount of time virtually as they were teaching in person. So kids are in school from 9 to 3. You shouldn't expect work for that period. But I don't misquote me, but I know it starts 30 minutes is pre-K, and then I don't want to misquote, but it's anywhere between 30 minutes to 180 minutes of instruction that they should be getting a day. Because the thought process is kids cannot hold the same kind of attention like this that they could face to face. They may not have tech. It's a lot of things that go into it. So they shouldn't necessarily be getting of instruction. So if it's an hour a day per teacher, what I've seen teachers do is, like, the first 30 minutes, I'm going to do a lesson, make sure that I'm explaining stuff to you. The next 30 minutes, I'm going to have, question and answer. So I think that that's fair if that's a per teacher. If that's an hour for the whole, and it depends on the grade level too. So the younger babies should have less time, like, then the eighth graders are 180 minutes. Pre-K, kindergarten is 30 minutes. And then I don't know what high school is, but it's probably higher than 2 hours. I don't know. But yeah, so I think it depends on the grade and if that's for one teacher and every teacher. Dallas, I love you too, Dallas. Estella, you're amazing. Thank you. My time at Deering was everything. Kaylee, thanks for joining. Kaylee says, Indiana says 30 minutes for middle school. Kaylee, is that for each teacher or is that total? 30 minutes for middle school. Yeah, so I don't know, but it depends. And that's what I'm saying, like, at the end of the day, class. Got to be thinking about here the underscore underlying thought here is that when we leave this space of remote learning and return back to the traditional school setting, you are everybody. I mean students, I mean community members, you all have to put pressure where it counts to make sure that we are giving kids what they need. Education has been the same for decades. We have not made any changes in most cases. Yes, there are some teachers who have always been using Google Classroom, and that's been a smooth transition for them. But even if your learning is not relevant, I don't care if it's online or not. Don't send my baby garbage. I promise you, if I was a parent, biological parent, somebody would be getting the business right now. Like, don't send no garbage home expect me, when I'm already stressed, to do the garbage. No, I'm not doing it. Send them something home that they can engage in. Watch, something, anything, and write a reflection about it. Tell them to write poems. Tell them to draw a picture about, like, there's so many ways you can make learning relevant, but at the end of the day, the system as it currently exists is not for us, and we need to be able to push against that in productive ways. Talk to the people, get involved in the LSCs and all that stuff at school, open back up to the extent that you can. I know that there's some systemic barriers that prevent you from being able to get involved the way you want, but advocate for your baby. And this is a time for you to listen and see what they're saying. When you that you want to know why they keep the school calling home all the time, look at the work right now that they send it home every week. It's probably the same stuff, the same package, the same. So if you're not interested in it, what makes you think the kids are going to be? Have compassion for yourself, have compassion for each other, support each other the best way you can, jump in when you can, take a step back. If you got it in you today, you ain't got it in you, and that is okay. You are perfect, whole, and complete the way you are. Nobody can tell you what's best for you and your babies. Make the decisions that you feel like are best for your kids and your family at the current moment. We can figure everything else out later. Okay, y'all. That's really all y'all have. Yes, advocate. And this is from pre-K to college, right? It's I know some professors who've been out of control giving extra work because they're not in-person classes. Like, that's not compassionate. I do also know that there are some people who are being very compassionate. My professors in particular, like, you have until the absolute last day, extended all the deadlines, no late penalties. So there are some really dope people out there that are operating in compassion, but where you're not getting it, advocate. Okay. Kaylee said in Indiana, middle school, high school, 30 minutes for each class, breaks every 15 to 20 minutes, and high school gets 30 minutes for each class, breaks as needed. So yeah, it's different. If you go on the ISBE, so Illinois State Board of Ed website, it'll tell you the breakdown of how much instructional time your child should be getting every day. But yeah, advocate for what you need. Just have compassion, because teachers are people too. They have a lot that they're dealing with. They are being champs, trying to pick up with this thing and roll with it to the best of their ability. It's not easy for anybody. We're all weathering the storm, but we're not in the same boat. So before we assume that, because I can do this, then they should be able to too, or because, and then people are sick. Some people have been sick, and did you go get tested? I've heard people say, well, she said she was sick, but she ain't she ain't go get tested, so we don't know if she, like, no matter if she got the virus or not. If she's sick, she's sick. If it's a cold, she's sick. Like, have some compassion. That's really all we can do. So I don't have anything else for you guys. I see that there are still 12 people viewing. If there's anything else that you guys, want some advice on, if you want to ask my perception about, if you're like, hey, you said this, I'm not sure if I agree, like, push me too, right? This is what this space is for. So I'm just going to wait a couple to see if anybody chats something else. And if not, I'm going to close out. Thank you guys so much for joining. Any feedback is always greatly appreciated. If you want to ask anything that's more private or personal, feel free to inbox me. I love you guys, and there's nothing you can do about it. Hang in there, be well, stay safe. I'm still seeing a few more people in. I'm going to give you guys about one for any. Thank you, Miss Shalise. Go ahead and teach. Thanks for going for our babies. Well, they're not babies at your level, but you know what I mean. Okay. I guess that's it. You guys enjoy. Be safe and be well. Talk soon. Bye.